Happy Thanksgiving, Encounter Youth family. It's such a special week. I just wanted to take a few minutes with you since we're not meeting this Wednesday night to help you and your entire family, parents, grandparents, anyone that could be here watching with you, to just take some time, set it apart, and give thanks to the Lord during this special season that we take time apart with family, friends, eat delicious meals, eat some amazing food, get some good naps in, hopefully. But whatever you're doing, we just want to take a moment to pause and encourage you as an entire family to gather around and give thanks to the Lord. So this is just a quick devotional and a quick reminder to you. And I just want you to think about this for a second. How often on a day-to-day basis do you just break out in thanksgiving, break out in song, break out in just praising the Lord with joy in your heart because of how good He is and what He's done in your life? I think for most of us, we would love for that to be a normal occurrence. But the reality is a lot of us find ourselves in a separate place. For most of our culture around us, or if you're scrolling social media, you're watching the news, the constant tone is not often thanksgiving, but the tone we hear throughout our culture on a day in, day out basis is complaining, is grumbling. Things aren't the way we want them to be. Things have to be better. Things have to get in line with my vision of my life in order for life to be what it's really supposed to be about. And this shapes us. This forms us over time as we're listening to these messages day in and day out, as you read comments on social media, as you're seeing the division throughout our country. It's oftentimes leading us personally, even as Christians, to complain and to grumble about the way things are. But grumbling, complaining, we see throughout Scripture, actually gives us a false perspective on life. It's saying life really isn't as good as it should be. And when we say those things, we see this in the Old Testament especially, that we are actually beginning to condemn God, basically saying, God, you're not making my life good enough. Now, the reality is, if we think about it, the fact that He's given us breath in our lungs is something to be thankful for today. The fact that we can know Him and that He has offered His Son to us, that we could be in a relationship with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the one who created us, the one who controls all things, that in itself should be something to give thanks and to shout praise for. But a lot of times when we're grumbling and complaining, we're saying, God, my life isn't good enough, and I am pointing at you as the reason why. That's really what we're doing when we're complaining. So Thanksgiving, when we come and we give thanks to the Lord, what we're actually doing is we're refocusing and recentering ourselves on the truth, and it's helping us see things properly. It's helping us see that, God, even though there may be some difficult things going on in my life right now, you are good. Your love will never fail me. You will always be with me. I am yours and you are mine. And because of that reality, I will give thanks even in the hardest of circumstances. This is pretty cool too. Science has shown us that giving thanks on a regular basis actually helps regulate our nervous system. And so if you're anxious, you're fearful, you find yourself just sad and maybe in despair at times, one of the ways out of that, the way God actually hardwired us, was to give thanks to Him to help us gain proper perspective on life and regulate our nervous system when we see, man, things really aren't as bad as we may be perceiving them to be. I want to read a psalm to us and just have you meditate on this before I give you a few challenges as a family to leave this moment with. But if you're ever wondering, what do I even give thanks about? Maybe you don't even know where to start in that process. It feels like such a foreign concept to you. The Bible gives us so much to read through, and actually prayers even to help us give thanks to God. So if you don't know where to start, the book of Psalms is filled with prayers of praise and prayers of thanksgiving. And so I'm going to read a short psalm to us, Psalm chapter 100, to just help you get in that mindset of thanksgiving. And then from there, we'll go into a challenge for you and your family to discuss together. So let's read Psalm chapter 100 together. Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him singing with joy. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us. We are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Go into his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation. This psalm gives us a beautiful picture in just a few short verses as to why we should give thanks. For the Lord is good. His unfailing love will continue forever and ever, and he will always be faithful to us. So where have you seen that in your life? And how can you give thanks today to fight off that current that our culture is trying to get us into of complaining and grumbling about the things of life? A few years ago, I remember I was driving my car and I was prone to honk at people if they cut me off or if they were driving in a silly way, we could put it that way. I'd just lay on the horn and just let them know that I was displeased with them. And I remember one day in the car as I'm driving, the Lord just kind of convicted me in a moment. He shared with me, hey, I don't want you to kind of be in this constant spirit of complaining, or it was almost as if I was looking for a moment to just be able to let people know I was displeased with what was happening. And that's what complaining and grumbling is. It's making known our constant displeasure of what's happening in our lives. And the Lord convicted me, saying, I don't want you to lay on the horn any longer. Now, maybe you feel like that word isn't for you, but for me, it just began to change my perspective. Even if someone cuts me off, I still have things to be thankful for, that the first thing out of my mouth shouldn't be bitterness or anger or complaining, but it should be, even if these things don't go according to my plan, God, I will still give you thanks. And so here's the challenge for you as a family. I want you to take a few minutes, sit down around another psalm, and read together Psalm 107. It's a longer psalm than Psalm 100, but it gives us so much that we can be thankful for. And I'd encourage you as a family to read through this psalm together, and then take 5 to 10 minutes after that and write down 3 things that you are very, very thankful to the Lord for. Now, I want to challenge you even further to not make these just 3 general things like I'm thankful for my family, or I'm thankful for my bed, I'm thankful for food. We can make it really easy. But I want to just challenge you to go a step further and be very specific. What specifically are you thankful for? Why are you thankful for your family? Why are you thankful for the food that you have on your table? Go a little bit further and get really specific in your Thanksgiving this year. Because as you're doing that, you're going to be practicing the muscle of first giving thanks before complaining, gaining the right perspective on life, and giving God the worship and glory that he's due. I pray you have an amazing Thanksgiving with family. I pray that you have an awesome time in learning how to give thanks now as you do this together. And I just pray a blessing that you would see the unfailing love of the Lord in your life and his faithfulness in increased measure day in and day out as you give thanks to him.